George Russell was dominating the Canadian Grand Prix. Pole position. Leading the race. Fighting brilliantly against Kimi Antonelli. Then his Mercedes suddenly died without warning. No electronics. No power. No brakes. Nothing. And while Russell stood outside the car looking completely devastated, Antonelli was driving toward his 5th consecutive Formula One victory. That is when the entire atmosphere inside Mercedes changed. Because Canada may have exposed the beginning of a full internal war. Before the catastrophic retirement, Russell and Antonelli were already battling each other harder than at any point this season. Aggressive defense. Wheel-to-wheel attacks. Radio complaints exploding over team communications. At one point, Antonelli even shouted, "He's using the whole track. He's not leaving me space." And Toto Wolff reportedly watched the battle from the pit wall with visible tension on his face. But here is where the story becomes dangerous for Mercedes. After the race, Russell publicly admitted something that shocked the paddock. Right now, it's his, unless he loses it. That is not normal teammate frustration. That sounds like a driver realizing the championship, and maybe even the team itself, is slowly slipping away from him. And then came the most terrifying part. Russell admitted the pressure is now gone. "I have nothing to lose." That should seriously worry Mercedes. Because Formula One becomes incredibly dangerous when elite drivers stop thinking about consequences. And now Mercedes faces the nightmare scenario every dominant team fears most. The fastest car on the grid, 2 drivers fighting for the same championship, and a rivalry that is starting to become personal. Because once you understand what really happened between Russell and Antonelli during those brutal first 30 laps in Canada, the entire future of Mercedes suddenly looks far more explosive than anyone imagined. Subscribe if you love Formula One stories that reveal what teams desperately try to hide. At first, the battle between George Russell and Kimi Antonelli looked perfect for Mercedes. 2 silver cars dominating the field. 2 drivers operating at an unbelievable level. Russell leading from pole. Antonelli hunting him down lap after lap. But underneath that dominance, something much more dangerous was developing inside the team. Real tension. Because Canada exposed the exact problem Mercedes had been trying to avoid all season. Both drivers genuinely believe they are the #1 driver now. And for almost 30 laps, the fight between Russell and Antonelli became the most aggressive internal battle Mercedes has seen in years. This was not controlled teammate racing anymore. This was personal. Antonelli attacked repeatedly using DRS down the straights. Russell defended aggressively into the braking zones. At one point, the British driver closed the door so hard into the first chicane that Antonelli immediately exploded over the radio. "He's using the whole track. He's not leaving me space." That message mattered far more than people realized in the moment. Because drivers only start making those kinds of radio complaints when frustration is already building emotionally. And inside Mercedes, everybody could feel the pressure rising lap after lap. Even Toto Wolff reportedly monitored the battle from the pit wall with visible tension on his face. Now imagine the atmosphere inside that garage during those opening laps. Your team has the fastest car on the grid. Both drivers are fighting for the championship. And neither one wants to back down. That is every team principal's nightmare. Especially because Antonelli is no longer behaving like a rookie emotionally. Canada proved that completely. He attacked Russell directly, aggressively, repeatedly, and maybe most importantly, fearlessly. That changes everything inside Mercedes. Because until now, Russell still carried the psychological advantage. The experienced driver. The established leader. The man expected to carry Mercedes into the post-Hamilton era. Canada shattered that balance. Antonelli looked like an equal, maybe even more dangerous. And then came the moment that may have emotionally broken Russell. Lap 30, turn 9, leading the race, managing the gap perfectly, still fighting for the championship. And suddenly, everything died. No electronics, no MGUK, no regenerative braking, nothing. Russell later described the experience in brutally honest terms. Everything just switched off. And what makes this story so painful emotionally is this. George was driving one of the best weekends of his entire Formula One career. Sprint pole, sprint victory, Grand Prix pole, leading the race against the fastest teammate in Formula One right now. Then in seconds, everything collapsed. Meanwhile, Antonelli inherited the lead and never looked back. Calm tire management, controlled strategy, no mistakes, 5th consecutive victory. And suddenly, the championship gap exploded to 43 points. That is psychologically devastating this early in the season. Which is exactly why Russell's post-race comments shocked so many people inside the paddock. Right now, it's his, unless he loses it. That sentence revealed everything. The frustration. The exhaustion. The feeling that momentum inside Mercedes may already be slipping away permanently. But then Russell said something even more dangerous. The pressure is gone now. I'll just enjoy every race, try to win each one, and I have nothing to lose. That should seriously worry Mercedes. Because Formula One becomes extremely unpredictable when elite drivers stop thinking about championship management and start racing emotionally instead. Especially drivers like Russell. Aggressive under braking. Willing to take risks. Already frustrated by reliability failures this season. And now Mercedes faces a terrifying situation moving forward. Antonelli is driving like a future world champion already. Russell is starting to sound like a driver preparing for war. Then the emotional damage inside Mercedes became impossible to hide after the race. Because George Russell did not sound like a driver who simply lost points. He sounded like someone realizing the future of the team may already be changing around him. And honestly, Canada may have been the first moment Russell truly felt that shift emotionally. For years, George was supposed to be the next Mercedes leader. The long-term project after Lewis Hamilton. The driver expected to lead the team into the new era. But now Kimi Antonelli is no longer just the talented young rookie. He is becoming the center of the championship. That changes everything inside a Formula One garage. Because momentum in Formula One is emotional before it becomes political. Mechanics feel it. Engineers feel it. Strategists definitely feel it. And after Canada, Antonelli's side of the garage suddenly feels unstoppable. 5 consecutive victories. 43 points clear in the championship. The fastest car on the grid. And now, a teammate starting to sound emotionally exhausted. That combination is dangerous. Especially because Russell's frustration has been building for weeks already. Bad safety car timing in Japan. Reliability problems in China. Missed opportunities. Near-perfect weekends collapsing at the worst possible moments. Canada did not feel isolated. It felt like a breaking point. And this is where the story becomes psychologically fascinating. Because Russell's interviews after the race carried 2 completely opposite emotions at the same time. Pride and resignation. On one side, he openly admitted he was proud of his performance all weekend. And honestly, he should be. Sprint pole. Sprint victory. Grand Prix pole. Leading the race against the fastest driver in Formula One right now. But underneath that pride, there was something much darker. The feeling that no matter how perfectly he performs, something keeps taking the championship away from him. That is why his comment about Antonelli shocked the paddock so much. Right now, it's his, unless he loses it. That sentence sounded less like sportsmanship, and more like emotional surrender. But then came the truly dangerous part. Russell admitted the pressure was gone. And drivers without pressure become terrifying. Because once elite drivers stop calculating championship risks, their racing changes completely. Later braking. More aggressive defense. More willingness to attack teammates directly. That should seriously concern Mercedes after what happened in Canada. Because remember how intense the battle already looked before the retirement. Russell defended Antonelli aggressively multiple times. Antonelli complained over the radio about space and defensive moves. The tension was already boiling. Now imagine the next phase of this rivalry if Russell genuinely feels he has nothing left to lose. That is where Formula One becomes dangerous internally. Especially because Toto Wolff now faces a nightmare scenario. His team has the fastest car in Formula One. But it also has 2 drivers heading toward completely different psychological directions. Antonelli is racing with confidence. Russell may soon start racing with anger. That combination can destroy championships if not controlled carefully. And Canada may have already revealed the first warning signs. Because during those opening 30 laps, Mercedes stopped looking like a united dominant team. They looked like 2 drivers trying to prove who truly owns the future of the garage. One defending desperately. The other attacking fearlessly. And underneath all of it, another terrifying issue quietly appeared. Reliability. Because according to the information emerging after the race, Russell's catastrophic failure likely came from the MGUK inverter system operating under extreme electrical stress from the new regulations. That matters enormously. The electrical systems in 2026 are now operating at almost 3 times the power load compared to previous seasons. Which means Mercedes may have discovered the limit of its own performance package. And now imagine the emotional effect of that inside the team. Antonelli wins. Russell retires while leading. The championship gap explodes. And suddenly the reliability concern becomes attached emotionally to the driver already losing momentum internally. That creates paranoia very quickly inside Formula One garages. Not conspiracy. Paranoia. Questions appear naturally. Why did the failure happen on Russell's car? Will it happen again? Can Mercedes really allow both drivers to race this aggressively while reliability remains uncertain? Those questions are now hanging over the entire team heading into Monaco. And honestly, Toto Wolff may already understand the terrifying truth Canada exposed. Mercedes no longer has a simple teammate rivalry. It has a civil war developing inside the fastest team in Formula One. But the most dangerous part of Mercedes' Canada nightmare may not actually be the retirement itself. It may be what happened emotionally after Antonelli crossed the finish line. Because while Kimi celebrated his 5th consecutive victory, his radio message revealed something that should seriously worry George Russell. This team is incredible. Kimi Antonelli, world champion. That was not just excitement. That sounded like certainty. Real belief. And Formula One changes instantly when a young driver stops hoping he can become champion, and starts expecting it. Canada may have been the race where Antonelli crossed that psychological line permanently. You could already feel it during the battle with Russell before the retirement. No hesitation. No fear. No respect for hierarchy. He attacked repeatedly into the chicanes. Used DRS aggressively. Forced Russell to defend harder than at any other point this season. That is not rookie behavior anymore. That is a driver trying to take ownership of the team. And now Mercedes faces a terrifying emotional imbalance internally. Because while Antonelli's confidence keeps growing every race, Russell's frustration keeps growing too. That combination can become explosive very quickly. Especially at a team like Mercedes, where both drivers know they have the fastest car on the grid right now. Think about the psychological pressure Russell is carrying after Canada. He did almost everything perfectly. Sprint pole. Sprint win. Grand Prix pole. Led the race. Defended aggressively against Antonelli for nearly 30 laps. And still left the weekend 43 points behind in the championship. That is emotionally brutal. Especially because Formula One drivers measure themselves against teammates more than anyone else. And right now, Antonelli is not just beating Russell. He is taking control of the narrative around Mercedes. The future. The momentum. The belief inside the garage. And this is where Toto Wolff's situation becomes incredibly dangerous. Because Mercedes still wants both drivers racing hard. Wolff even admitted after the race that having 2 drivers who want to win is exactly what the team wants. But he also added something important. What we don't want are incidents that hurt the team. That line matters enormously after Canada. Because the opening 30 laps already looked dangerously close to the limit emotionally. Aggressive defensive moves. Radio complaints. Visible tension on the pit wall. And now the championship pressure is getting worse every race. Antonelli smells a title. Russell smells the season slipping away. That combination can destroy internal harmony extremely fast. Especially once drivers stop believing the season will naturally balance itself later. And honestly, Russell's comments after the race suggested he may already be reaching that point emotionally. The pressure is gone now. That sentence should terrify Mercedes. Because pressure normally controls risk. Pressure forces drivers to think long-term. But once a driver feels the championship slipping away anyway, the mentality changes completely. Now every race becomes personal. Every overtake becomes emotional. Every battle with the teammate becomes a statement. And Formula One history is filled with rivalries that exploded exactly this way. Hamilton versus Rosberg. Senna versus Prost. Teammates slowly turning into enemies because the championship stopped being enough. Now add another terrifying element to Mercedes' situation. Reliability fear. According to the information emerging after the race, Russell's catastrophic failure likely came from the MGUK inverter system operating under extreme electrical stress from the new 2026 regulations. That is a massive concern internally. Because now the fastest car in Formula One suddenly carries a hidden weakness too. And reliability problems always affect teammates differently. Antonelli just won despite the risk. Russell lost a possible victory because of it. That changes psychology immediately. Now imagine the next wheel-to-wheel battle between them. One driver feeling unstoppable. The other feeling robbed. That is not a healthy emotional balance inside a championship team. And with Monaco approaching next, the pressure may become even worse. Because Monaco is emotional. Qualifying pressure. Wall-to-wall precision. Almost impossible overtaking. If Russell and Antonelli qualify close together there, the tension inside Mercedes could explode instantly. Especially now that Canada exposed something the team can no longer hide. This is no longer a simple teammate rivalry. No longer a rookie learning beside the established team leader. This is a full championship war inside Mercedes. And after Canada, both drivers know it.